This issue will be a matter of what ODs actually believe. The answer to that is that they believe that all prevention is totally impossible, completely out of the question, can never be done, and in the range of 2040 to 2060, you can never get out of it. Just use the minus lens and ortho-K or LASIK. It's totally impossible to get out of 2040 to 2060 vision. They believe this because of an antique theory of, 150 years ago. The theory maintains that there's no relationship between the refractive state of the normal eye and the average of accommodation. The theory is totally disproven in pure science. In medicine, pure science does not exist. They will deny it. I personally agree that before you start wearing a minus lens, you should be taught the science of all natural eyes and be prepared to make a commitment for prevention and personally monitoring your own Snellen. I would rather say back to 2040, which is a reasonable, achievable, objective goal, than to say back to 2020, which is a difficult goal. So there's compromise. I should, because of the last 30 years or so, I have encountered some very insightful medical people who acknowledge that the ignorance of the public walking off the street is impossible. They want that minus lens. You hold the minus lens up, you impress them, and away they go. They get very upset and angry if you ever suggest that 2040 it's possible to avoid, or that avoiding means getting rid of the near environment. Here's where science diverges from medicine. The animal studies show the eye is dynamic. I mean, no question about it. The eye controls its refractive state to its average of accommodation. You change the average of value of accommodation, and the eye changes its refractive state accordingly. That is pure science. It is not medicine, and medicine will totally ignore this science. They feel that they have a right to do that. It hurts everybody when they do that. I personally acknowledge that if you want prevention, you have to start prevention before you get in deeper than about 2040. I will post remarks of people who got out of it because they committed to wearing the plus at 2040 or so. I will make a post by a optometrist who also, limiting himself to 2040 to 2060, advocated that the person use a plus lens. The limit of plus lens is that you can't be too nearsighted to use it. To me, the plus makes scientific sense, but science in the way that I said it. Even Jake hits on this, that put a minus on the completely normal eye, you wind up with a myopic eye in a year. Put an eye in a cage, you wind up in a myopic eye in a year. That's pure science. It's not medicine. Jake reports that people get discouraged when working on prevention. I agree. The person must have a scientific insight as to what he's doing and why he's doing it. Otherwise, he loses direction. I personally don't advocate that people with a huge minus attempt to work on prevention. It's just tragic. But the person who has a huge minus got in because somebody overprescribed them by 2 or 3 doctors on the first sitting, and nobody told them what the alternative was. I don't know if you call that a crime. One optometrist called the minus a crime against humanity. But in all cases, they're talking about a patient, and they always assume the patient's not smart enough to do anything, not motivated to do anything, won't understand pure science, and will be generally totally hostile to prevention at 2040. So they won't mention it and they will not talk about it, which means they're against science in its very basic form. I truly regret the consequences because I know the public's attitude is so terrible. So I don't even bother trying to change the public's mind on this, nor do I try and save a person once he starts wearing a minus lens, because I do think it's too late once he starts wearing that minus lens. I think we're owed an explanation. We're owed a scientific presentation of the natural isodynamic system before we start wearing a minus lens. Because of one very critical study showed that if you don't do anything and you got this nose on the page habit, your refraction will go down at a steady rate of a minus half diopter per year. Doesn't sound like it, but that's scientific proof. So if somebody says you don't have to do anything, I would look at that scientific study when you're 20/40. The one thing most people do not do, refuse to do, is look at a Snellen. It's crazy. The only way you know what you're doing is to look at Snellen, and you see with a brightly lit Snellen. I would look for objective 20/40 because that passes the GMV, and that means basically you don't have to wear a minus lens. But at 20/40, for me, that means heavy commitment to wearing a plus for all close work because I want to get to 20/20. But I limit myself to that range. Enjoy Jake's work. For him, it's a labor of love. I mean, it's rather obvious. It's too bad we don't have more people like that. The plus is never a cure. The plus is for prevention. The plus will change your refractive state in a positive direction, but it's a slow process. If you can't accept that, you're not going to do it. Everything looks like it would be wise to wear the plus at 20/40 and further. A medical person is not going to help you at all. They'll discourage you one way or the other because their whole business, their entire professional life, their professional life is tied up in perpetuating the minus lens method to your detriment. Enjoy the video, and for God's sakes, look at a Snellen. People almost universally overprescribed, always by -1 diopter, sometimes -2, -3, -4. As a matter of fact, I think the reason Jake got out of it, he stopped doing that, and just stopping it got him probably close to 2100. Further rejecting wearing of any minus lens got him to 2060 or so. But the real target is 20/40, where you look at it and confirm it. I wish you luck. I just can't get into make claims of success beyond 2060. Thank you.